Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining. See, everyone's connecting here. I'm going to give this a couple minutes, and then we're going to dive right in. All right, just a couple housekeeping notes here as we get started. If you notice in your Zoom window, there are a handful of options. Unfortunately, due to the size of the call, we aren't able to have everyone be able to jump in on video or on microphone to be able to ask. So I appreciate it if you guys could use the Q&A. There's a button in there within the Q&A. I've got a few team members who are joining as well that are going to do their best to answer the questions as quickly as possible. I will be also fielding some of those questions. So if you could, that'll help us keep it organized and make sure that we answer everything for y'all today. There's also the chat feature. If you're welcome to use that. We've seen some in the past that people just kind of share where they're located. We've had, I want to say 5 or 6 different countries at one point represented. So it's always really cool to see where people are from. But yeah, thank you again for joining. I'm going to go through a quick presentation that I have just to provide a little bit of an overview on who we are, what we do, kind of the core elements of what makes New Apprenticeship maybe different. And then after that, I'll probably try to get to that in 10, 15 minutes at the most. And then the rest of the time we'll be able to dedicate to fielding questions. So I'm going to just jump right in here. My name is Matt Urban. I'm the Director of Marketing Admissions here at New Apprenticeship, and just blown away that y'all are joining and taking time out of your day to hopefully learn some things and see if this apprenticeship might be a good fit for you and as a way to start or advance your career in tech. So I like to just kind of start off a little bit of an overview on what we do or what an apprenticeship is, right? It's this combination of experience and learning at the same time. Our model does that in a way that we work with partner employers, and we also we find instructors and coaches and mentors. We have an entire support system to combine the two, and that's how our apprenticeship works. But the most important thing, I think, and I know for the team here that's represented and the general team at New Apprenticeship, is why we do it. And you guys all probably know that hiring for tech doesn't work. It is based on this antiquated notion that 4-year degrees are the thing, the baseline, and if you don't have that, then you must not be able to work a tech job. It's led to some disastrous things, tech cultures that are not diverse, just a lot of, a perceived sort of tech gap, talent gap that people are talking about, and employers are raising their hands and saying, we can't find anyone good. And there's so many amazingly talented people who are screaming for attention and they can't get it because of that. Just the system doesn't work. So that's why we're doing what we do. We kind of call, we look at ourselves as a bridge, as creating pathways, and it's not just us. It's we have to do this in tandem with not only employers who are innovative enough to say, yes, you know what, this system doesn't work. We want to figure out a way to fix this, but also with organizations, with high schools or community colleges, with military organizations, with groups that you guys might be members of that are looking to help provide new skills, training, support in a way to advance your careers and specifically within tech. So those are the roles that we focus in on. One of the things to kind of note here a couple things just to call out really quick about how our apprenticeship program works. So the big one, I think, the first question we usually get asked is, are there any costs to this program? And there are not for any of our apprentices. So all the training, all the certifications, everything that comes along with it, all those services are covered by two areas. The first one being the employers. So those employers that we work with recognize the benefit of being able to help their employees accelerate by getting all these resources that I mentioned. And then the second one is through national, regional, local grants that become available. Apprenticeship is a bipartisan supported issue, which is amazing. It is one of those rare things that people seem to be able to unite around, and so we do leverage that funding when available. So if you're part of the program and you qualify, you're likely going to receive some emails or calls from our grants team. We do ask that you do help enable us to get that, because what it does is be able to offer this apprenticeship, continue offering this apprenticeship at no cost to apprentices, learners in the future. So that's one big call out. The other one that I want to just call out at the beginning is this kind of salary range, and there can be variance, but these salaries this is early career, and we think that there's incredible value of not only getting that salary, but the benefits of the apprenticeship, the certification, all the development that happens over the course of the program. But it is something that if you've got a couple of years of IT experience already, it may not be the right fit for you. You might be looking at, you might be wanting to look at something with a higher salary. So those are just a couple of quick call outs. So as far as the qualifications, we really want to try to make this program accessible to anyone or almost anyone, regardless of your technical skills. That said, we do have a requirement of a high school diploma or the equivalent. If you don't have any technical skills, as you go through our admissions process, you may get prompted to say, hey, you don't have this thing, but here is a way to earn that, right? Here are some resources. Here's a competency project or a training course that you can go through, submit the information to us, and then we will kind of move you along in the process. Because it is a work-based apprenticeship program, you need to have work authorization in the US. Right now, our employers aren't sponsoring any visas, so that's another call out. And then lastly, if you have a 4-year bachelor's degree, at this point, you would not be eligible to participate in an apprenticeship program. There might be opportunities in the future where that changes. And if you have a foreign degree, a foreign bachelor's degree, you usually will qualify. If you're unsure, you can email us to confirm. But that is one of the kind of a exclusion that is, I think, worth calling out, because it is very atypical from what you might see for most job applications. So this is what a timeline looks like. We have a pre-employment bootcamp training that typically lasts between 8 and 12 weeks. This is part-time in the evenings, done remotely, again, no cost. At the conclusion of that bootcamp, then we coordinate interviews for those that complete with our employer partners for a role. Those that are offered and accept the position then start the 12-month apprenticeship. One call out here is that this is full-time employment as a W-2 at our partner company. It's not a contract. This is you're an employee for hopefully a long time. That's why we're doing this, is to enable people to get their foot in the door and then grow with our partners. And then there's also this other piece where we want to help facilitate continuing learning and education after the apprenticeship program, continuing to earn credits towards a bachelor's degree or additional certifications, right? And so we have an articulation agreement with Southern New Hampshire University, primarily online university, to where by completing this 12-month apprenticeship, you can be eligible for 20 plus upwards of almost 30 credit hours that you can then you'd be able to transfer over, and getting the equivalent of essentially a year's worth of college credits towards completing a bachelor's. So it's definitely important for us that we help not only during this period, but after the apprenticeship as well. So the expectations here, I love this slide, and the intention is not to scare anyone away, but just to really set the right expectations, because we see about 20% of people drop within the first 2 weeks. That tends to be when people realize, hey, this is difficult, this moves fast, and then if you make it after those first couple weeks, then it's almost another 20% drops, but that is over the course of the next let's see, 6 to 10 weeks, depending on what program it is. And so really that the preparedness coming into the first couple weeks, really being on top of things, making sure you ask questions. If you need help, if it's moving quickly, raise your hand, get support. That's what we're here for. We're all want to make sure everyone succeeds, but there is a certain level of preparation that I would like to let everyone know about coming into the boot camp, or the pre-employment boot camp. So the apprenticeship journey looks a little bit like this. We've talked about some of these things already. Interview and the hiring, beginning the apprenticeship. Coaching is a big element of what we do. So we coordinate with our employers, with managers, really to identify not only just technical, more performance-based, but also leadership development. So thinking, navigating strategic relationships in the office, or working through problems that come up. All that kind of leadership skill development is really important, is our program. And then you graduate as a Department of Labor certified apprentice, in addition to getting typically around 3 to 5 industry recognized certifications throughout the process. I mentioned continued employment and continuing education as well. So the boot camp itself, I mentioned, is part-time. So it typically takes place Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings for a couple hours. And the total time requirement per week is in the 15 to 20 hours range, depending on your pre-existing skill level. It might be shorter, but it really just depends. That's the best guidance that we have, including the attendance to the video sessions. That is mandatory. That's where a lot of the learning takes place. These aren't lecture style. These are sessions that require pre-work in order to be able to come prepared and engage with an instructor or with whoever's running that session. So those are required. That is all remote. Then the apprenticeship program is in a similar format. The number of hours reduces a little bit because this is representative of the fact that everyone is working full-time jobs as well. And so it scales back a little bit to 10 to 15 hours a week, sessions 2 nights a week instead of 3, but it is a pretty similar format through that 12 months as well. I mentioned the coaching. This is something that we pay a lot of attention to through mentors, through our own performance coaches and leadership coaches. But I think a differentiator from what we offer, what New Apprenticeship offers, maybe compared to some other programs. And I added this slide. I think it does. I know there's a lot of people on this call right now, and so we'll try to get to all your questions as soon as we can. But these are 2 really good resources. So on our website, there's a frequently asked questions, and then also this page, this apprenticeships page, where you can kind of see it. It outlines some of the programs that we have, and then you can expand on to see, all right, what's the syllabus, what topics are covered, what locations are available, what's the eligibility, everything like that. And then, click through to specific landing pages for more information on each of those. So last slide here, or second to last slide, and then we'll open it up to continue answering questions. But just to reiterate a couple things, there's no cost to participate. It's a job perk essentially. The boot camp and apprenticeship learning is remote. The role is paid when you advance to the apprenticeship role after the job offer. That is paid, benefits, everything like that. However, and this is another big call out, the majority, if not, I would make the expectation that every one of the apprenticeship roles are going to be required to work in office at an employer partner location. That might change in the future, but right now we want everyone to have that expectation that they need to be working in the office. One thing on which office that is, the program availability changes as the partner needs evolve. They'll kind of say, great, we're looking for X number of roles at X location in this occupation. We typically do that quarterly. So we just went through recently and updated that for the next few months. So I'll be able to talk to what the most accurate locations are for all the programs. We're working to add more locations, and that comes with partnering with more companies. We do have caps on things. I wish we could offer this to everyone who is interested. However, we believe that those who start the program, they should have a role available when they get to the end of it, and have that opportunity to start an actual role. And so that's why our program is fluid as far as where the availability, the numbers are, but we really want to do our best. If there's not something available for you right now, we can put you on a wait list and let you know when there are, or kind of work with you to best provide guidance on when we think that program or that location might be coming up. So next steps here, last slide, you can apply online. It might be an admissions project, depending on your background, interview, and then we have a admissions decision, usually within a couple days of the interview. So thank you all. That concludes the presentation portion of it. I see that we've been having some questions answered, some great questions in the Q&A, and that are being answered. So I'm going to, I'll just jump in here and start to answer those questions. So I see first question. Yeah, so we have somebody who has bachelor's and a master's degree and an executive MBA. Impressive. Unfortunately, you would not be eligible for this program. I apologize. Another question around bachelor's degrees. I think the question is specifically around bachelor's degrees from India. So if you do, I think those typically 3-year bachelor's degrees. If that's the case, then you would be eligible for the apprenticeship program. Yeah, another great question around the percentage of students who complete the boot camp and get hired. So that hiring, the offer percentage, it raises or change the offer percentage range is typically between 66 and low 70%. So somewhere between 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 are offered a job at completion after interviewing and completion. We do also have a retraining program. So if you interview the first time and are not offered a job, you are able to do like a 2 to 3 week retraining, brush up, and then re-interview. So that does help provide additional opportunities for the job offer as well. We have a comment about relocation. There unfortunately is not any relocation assistance that's provided. We are kind of, our team has started to develop some resources, really utilizing some of what we know, but also leveraging our apprentices who live in these areas to try to be able to help and identify, hey, what are good areas to live where there's housing that isn't crazy, where there's, where it can be a quick commute. And so that's something that we're going to do a better job and help supporting, but unfortunately there's not relocation. There's a potential, depending on where you live, if we have workforce board relationships where we will try to help see if there are services that they can help provide. But that process can be pretty slow. So it does happen, but I don't think the success rate is typically very high. But definitely something we can try to look into if that is something that you need help with. We see a question around the back end, if it's Python or it says Flask. I think it maybe means Flash. I'm not sure what the intention of that question is. So if you're able to maybe re-ask that, I can try to provide a better answer for that. Great question around if you drop out of the program, are there any financial repercussions? There are not. We know, I mean, especially now, we recognize that things are really crazy, and there's so many unpredictable events that can happen. The only, I would say, potentially financial repercussion, if you are in the apprenticeship program, the apprenticeship and the role itself are kind of one and the same. So if you left the apprenticeship program, it would be synonymous with kind of leaving your job. So there are those financial repercussions, but there's not anything that you would need to pay back. You need to, yeah, you wouldn't get a bill or anything for time spent in there. A question around if you're unable to attend some of the sessions. So if there's a recurring conflict that you have, unfortunately, occasionally we'll offer other times. We don't typically. So if you do have a recurring conflict that you're just unable to get out of, send us an email, and then maybe we can see if we have something else planned, when that might be, or what other times would be. If you're if you don't have a recurring conflict, but something comes up, your job occasionally will keep you late, or you need to pick up kids, or someone occasionally, you can let your program managers and our operations team know. They will try to record sessions and then work with other folks in your cohort to be able to get you caught up on what you missed. So yeah, if it's recurring, it's not going to be really available. The program wouldn't work. If it's just occasional, then we will work with you. I have a question around if the attendance will conflict with FAFSA. I honestly, I don't know that, and I'm afraid to give that answer. I don't think so, but if you could maybe send an email, and I can check internally with the team. That way I don't steer you the wrong way. Yeah, a question around the room to negotiate salary into the job. I would say no. It's not that I think there have maybe been some rare cases, but I think that the expectation should be that there wouldn't be room to negotiate, unfortunately. Question if boot camp will ever be in person. So the services that New Apprenticeship provides, so the boot camp and the apprenticeship sessions, that will all stay remote, at least for the foreseeable future. What we are we've been trying to do, our intention has been to do more in-person events, based on the locations that you live in, the geographies, that are kind of optional. But we've been, like most people, kind of limited with, at the will of what COVID has been doing, and so it won't become required. But we do hope to do more in-person events as we're really able to. I have a question around, if you're already in one of the programs, can you apply for another program? For that, in that scenario, I would recommend you reach out to your program manager, who can help guide you in that. They would have a better understanding of where you are in the program, and better to be able to understand your circumstance, more than we would. So it's not unheard of, and certainly, could make sense. But if you could connect with your program manager first, and then they can help really understand, what would be the kind of the best for you. Have another question around, required sponsorship. At this point, our employers are not sponsoring, so unfortunately would not be, eligible for the program. A question around the post 9/11, GI Bill. So the way that the apprenticeship utilizes, the GI Bill, if you do have that, if you have any of that availability, it's not used, towards like against like tuition, but instead is, used for MHA, the monthly housing allowance. So I believe that varies across. The rate is calculated by the city that you live in, and I think it pays out something like maybe 80% for the first 6 months, and then 60% for the second 6 months. Um, but that's how the program in general is applied, and but I need to double check on the percentages. But that's again something we can do, for more details. If you send us an email, we can, try to get some more specific information on how that would be applied. Okay. Another a question around eligibility, and someone with a master's degree. Yeah, so unfortunately, if you have a bachelor's degree or higher, you would be ineligible. I'm sorry to hear the experience too. It was someone who completed it, but hasn't been able to really break into that field, of their master's. And uh, yeah, I wish we had something right now, but unfortunately, our kind of focus has been on those who have yet to obtain their bachelor's degree. We have a question around the projects that are requested in the application process. So there is some overlap, as far as the technical skills required. So if you have already completed a project, and you're asked to be another one that is similar, send us an email, let us know. I will double check internally, but I believe you, would not need to do that second project. Yeah, so another great question around, the what the role is, and I think it's specifically around the IT program. So right now, the role is, our IT apprenticeship is as a ServiceNow developer. And so ServiceNow, if you're familiar, is an IT service management platform. It's massive. It's utilized by our biggest, employer partner, to help service their clients. And so the boot camp and the apprenticeship is designed to, first get people acclimated and skilled to utilize the ServiceNow platform. But towards the second half of the apprenticeship, the goal or the intention is to utilize coding skills. So specifically, I think HTML and CSS are used within the platform building, create custom apps within ServiceNow, and then JavaScript as well. There's some others that are included in the bootcamp and the apprenticeship, I think, AngularJS. But the intention of the apprenticeship is to enable people to build up those skills and enable people to become, to put them on the developer track within the ServiceNow platform. So hopefully that helps answer that question. That said, we are hopefully within the next 2 months or so going to be offering another IT apprenticeship, one that will not be focused in on development, but more of a more general IT support. So that is, if that is something that you're interested right now, I definitely encourage you to keep coming, to stay with us for updates as like I said, we think in a couple months we should have that going. Yeah, a question around the partner companies. So the partner companies, the primary partner company that we have is an organization called Infosys, INFOSYS. So the majority of the roles that we have available at this point are with that organization. They're really, really cool. For those that don't know about them, definitely encourage you to look that up. There are also smaller organizations that we partner with that have need for a few roles, and those are a little bit harder to predict, only because the size of the organization, the roles that they need can vary. But I would say 90+% of the roles would be, at the moment at least, for Infosys, and then another 10% or so with smaller organizations within that same occupation. I do unfortunately have to have a home emergency that I need to hop away from for a moment, but I'm hoping that someone here on the team can be able to jump in. So sorry, everyone. I had a water leak, so I will back in a second.
No worries, Matt.
Jordan's got it. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Just here to fill in for Matt. Try to answer these questions as best as I can. Let me see. So let me see our next question. So I have the question on the pay for the apprenticeship. It is actually a salary. So whenever you get into the apprenticeship, that's like you becoming a full-time employee with that company. So at that point is whenever you'll start earning a salary, because you'll be working 40 hours a week with that company, getting your hands-on experience. And then there'll also be like health benefits that you could opt into as well if the company does provide them. But whenever you do become a full-time employee, you'll be negotiated with a salary around 35 to 40K per year usually. Do all programs require that applicants do not have a 4-year bachelor's degree? We do have one program that is accepting bachelor's degree, and that is our digital marketing program, but you will be having to relocate or commute to one of our locations out in Austin, Texas, or San Antonio, Texas. So I know that that program does accept bachelor's degree, but as of right now, that is the only one that we do have. If you're willing to relocate, then we could see you for our digital marketing program for sure. Okay. Okay, that's not one. Okay, what happens if I cannot complete the project? Will I still be able to attend the boot camp? or I have to try again and reapply. I would say as far as being able to complete the project, it's more of like basic skills. So being able to complete the project is probably a requirement for sure, that you're able to understand and be able to get through that, because the boot camp might be a little bit more intensive. And that's kind of like a good indicator to see if this is kind of what you're looking for, if you could understand the concepts of it. So definitely, if you could try to give the project another go, that'd be great. You may not have to apply. If you do not have the link again, just reach out to our admissions team and we could provide that as well, through admissions@newapprenticeship.com. Yes, so I have a question on the next upcoming boot camp. So, I mean, we do have our IT ServiceNow boot camp that's going to be starting August 8th. So that will be the soonest one that you'd probably be able to get into. Keep in mind that we do have different locations. So if you have any questions as far as like if we're going to have your location available August 8th, definitely just reach out to admissions and we'll be able to help you out and figure that out. But yes, the soonest one that we have for the IT ServiceNow will be August 8th. And then I believe we will have a AWS launch August 8th as well. So there's that. Hey, Matt.
Hey, thank you, Jordan, for stepping in, and huge apologies, everyone.
No problem.
Okay, well, I can jump back in here. So there's a question around reapplying, potentially reapplying into the program, and how that would impact the timeline of starting and completing the apprenticeship. We shouldn't need to reapply. Well, it just depends on when you applied. If you've already applied in the past, if you reapply now, that would probably be the fastest way. We, as mentioned at the beginning, we're updating our system based on availability. So potentially if you applied in the past and that there wasn't availability for you at that time, you would potentially be eligible now. So I think that well, won't slow anyone down. It would potentially just help accelerate. So that would be my recommendation if you had applied in the past and there wasn't a program match for you at that time. I have a question around another master's degree. Unfortunately, this time we don't have any programs through New Apprenticeship for the bachelor's or master's degree. There's a possibility. There's probably more than a possibility that in the future, maybe fourth quarter or early next year, we would see programs that did enable bachelor's degrees. I don't know about master's degrees. It feels unlikely, unfortunately. But at this time, we don't have anything. A follow-up question for the GI Bill. So I believe that would actually start during the apprenticeship, not during the boot camp. I believe it's getting entered into the job details being entered into the rapid system is the thing that kicks that off. But it would, I think pretty sure that's the technical process for it, but it would not start in boot camp, unfortunately. A question around the process. So just to quickly reiterate, the whole process from kind of starting to starting the boot camp to starting the apprenticeship. So you apply on our website, you go through the program there, or our admissions process. Then towards the end of your 8 to 12 week boot camp, you'd interview with the employer. That interview hiring result typically takes I would say between 1 and 4 weeks. The reason that it could take longer is because you get your offer, but then there's the process of going through HR and background checks and verification. So that's where it can take the process can take a little bit of time to actually be finalized. But then you start the employment. You'd set an employment start date. The apprenticeship typically starts within a few weeks of that employment start date, where you'd continue as a cohort. So that's the typical timing. Okay, let's see. A question around the specific expectations of the program. So we try to on the landing pages and the information pages provide just like a high level of what would be expected as far as like what topics are covered. But when you get into the boot camp, one of the things we utilize Canvas as our learning management resource or learning management system. So for those that are accepted into the boot camp, you're given access to that where it's broken down, week by week, what those specific expectations are, the work that needs to be done kind of leading up to, during, and then afterwards. And then the first session is an orientation. So we have various leaders within the program managers, represented from grants, from operations, come on and really in more detail communicate how to be successful in the pre-apprenticeship. Hopefully that helps. A question around specific locations, and maybe I can answer this in general. I think for IT program, at least this quarter, we are looking in Dallas. There are locations available in Dallas, Indianapolis, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Hartford, Connecticut. For our data program, those same 4 locations, Dallas, Indy, Raleigh, Hartford, plus Tempe, Arizona, and Seattle or Bellevue, Washington. And then our AWS program is Dallas and Indianapolis. Those are at least the current opportunities for this quarter as far as locations. We have a question around looks like a technical problem from someone that is in the program already. So if you're the best person there would be your program manager, contacting your program manager, who can then to be able to support and troubleshoot specifically around any of those issues. I have a question around if we had participants who completed boot camp but did not pass the interview process for the apprenticeship. Yes, so that the offer rate that the average offer rate that we see for those that completed is in that, like I said, that kind of mid 60s to mid 70s%. That doesn't include opportunities for retraining and re-interviewing, but it is, it is still definitely not a guarantee of employment at the completion of the boot camp. Another question around specifically the data cohort in Raleigh. So the answer to that is yes. That is included. The caveat is that we do have we will at some point have caps, a specific number of seats that are available by location, by program. Again, so that we can ensure that people that go through the program have an open opportunity. So it is one of the cities for that program. However, we will let you know you can either email us to ask more specifics, or within the application, the admissions process, our team will reach back out to you and kind of keep you updated as to if that availability is not, if you're not able to or if we filled all the seats for that location. If that is the case, if you are in the process and weren't able to get through the whole thing, and a location either gets capped out, we've met our requirements for that location, or if it is something where it's not being offered, what we'll do is email you, let you know. We'll put on a wait list. So as soon as that location and that program becomes available, we give you guys first right of refusal, essentially. Send out an email, let you know, hey, this is now available. Here are the details. You're able to, would you like to continue? Would you like to continue on with this program? So that's how we're kind of currently handling anything above our availability. A question after a certification after completing the boot camp. So yes, we have kind of a new apprenticeship certification, but depending on what the program it is, you may have you may also earn an industry certification. Again, depending on what the program is, for the AWS practitioner, for example, you might be testing into that at the end of the boot camp. It can vary by program, but yes, our own certification, in addition to, we try to really focus in on industry credentials as well. Okay. I think we caught up to the questions. I see a couple more coming in here, but thank you, new team, for being on here and supporting all these amazing questions that we've had. So I have another question. Another question around essentially it looks like I'm guessing it's a recurring conflict during the training times. If that's the case, yeah, unfortunately, is probably not the right opportunity at this point. If the conflict, in this case, it looks like a class, if there's flexibility around that, or if that changes, or if and when that changes, then that definitely apply. But unfortunately, yeah, if there's a recurring conflict, it is required that you do attend. Thank you for asking about the water leak. Yes, actually, I was able to fix it. Long story. I was able to find it and patch it up for at least a few days until a professional came out today and redid it. So I'm good. I have water. I appreciate that. Great. Any other questions here? I see we've got 10 minutes left here to still be able to answer questions, but certainly want to give back some time in your day if we've covered everything. And I'll give it a couple of minutes, but one thing I just want to stress for those that are considering the program, and one thing that can be really intimidating, starting a new career in tech that you don't have experience with. And some people come to us and they have had successful careers in other occupations, or have been working in retail or hospitality or other industries, and are looking to break in. And the experience that you have in those work roles is helpful. It might not be directly into the technical components, but that's something that we're here to support and train, provide everything that you need to be successful, if you're able to invest in that. And so don't discount the experiences that you've had in the past, even if they're not directly related to the role that you're looking for. But then the other thing I would just say is that if you do have a question, or you have a concern, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm falling behind, I don't get this concept, like raise your hand as soon as possible. We have a team of program managers, of support, support staff, operations. We have really some amazing instructors who come in and they just have show such care for everyone who goes through, and they're doing it not because they have to. They're doing it because they really want to. They want to find a way to help develop the future leaders in technology, and so that's how we're able to get such talented people to be able to come in, because they look at it as a way to really help the next, like I said, those next leaders. So okay, I talked enough to be able to get a few more questions. We get through. Um, a question again on the bootcamp days and times. So those are typically Monday, Wednesday, Thursday between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. We do have our upcoming AWS cohort is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30, 8:30 p.m. I'm not sure if that is going to be something that's consistent moving forward, or if it's just this upcoming, but those are typically 3 evenings a week. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday is the most common. Great. It's a question around the timing of submitting a project within the interview or within the admissions process. Typically, we're going to look at that within 2 to 3 days. We'll make a note to kind of connect with our admissions team to see if we can have someone do that right after this call, just to make sure everything is all those are moved through so that people can continue on through the process. So thank you for bringing that question up. Great question around the salary. The salary for the 12 months. The question was, is it possible to receive a raise before the end of those 12 months? I would have to double check that. I would say that probably anything's possible, but I would prefer to be able to look at historical and see what's actually happened. And we've got 150 plus apprentices that are either active or have already completed their apprenticeship program. And so I will make a note to that. I would go on the expectation that that for that first 12 months, it wouldn't be. I would just, again, err on the side of caution for that. However, I do know that at the end of the program, there is a conversation with the managers. We connect with your team, and then it is performance-based raises and evaluations after the end of that 12 months. So that one I do know for sure, but I will try to get that information. If you could send a follow-up email around that specifically, I can get back to you. Or if that information, this is good enough to answer for the short term, then I will just make sure to get this for future FAQs. A great question around the checking the status for boot camp. If that status is in the admissions process leading up to it, then the only thing you could do right now is send us an email. We can check on it. Try to think if there's a way that we can enable people to sort of check on their status in a more on-demand way. But at this point, only emailing us and let us know, or and reach out so that we can review that and get you that information. All right, we've got a few more minutes left. Maybe time for a couple more questions. If we don't see those, give it another minute or so. But again, thank you all for coming out, taking time to learn more about the program. Hopefully this has been helpful. We're really would love to see you decide to join the program, and so we can sort of help any way we can. But if you realize that, hey, this isn't the right opportunity for you, that is that's good as well. I mean, we really want to be here and be a resource and really help where we can. So thank you all for attending. I see another question here. Do you get paid for the boot camp? You do not get paid for the boot camp. Great question there. Only during the apprenticeship program, your salary during the apprenticeship program. The boot camp itself, the work that you're doing is towards individual certifications, towards individual skill development, so not like client work or anything like that. So that's why it's not paid, but it is, as mentioned, no cost. The certifications are included as well. So yeah, one note here as well. This is recorded. We recorded this one, so typically later this week, within a couple of days, what we'll do is we'll get this uploaded typically to YouTube. Then for everyone who registered to the info session here, we'll send it out so that you can rewatch it, or if there's something you may have missed and want to see what was covered, you're able to do that. So I think typically by Thursday, but end of week at the latest. I think we got time for one more question that I see here coming up. The application. So you can see if you've gone through the application process so far or already, you'll see that there will be options to select multiple apprenticeship programs if you are interested. So if you, that way we can do our best to match, where the open available opportunities are. We try to understand what kind of technical skills you have coming into the program to be able to find, again, the most logical fit, the best fit. That being said, we don't want to, we don't require anyone that they, pursue one over the other. So if you decided throughout the process, even that you decided, you know what, I started off, I thought these programs were going to be the best for me, and instead I think this other program is the one that I want to do. I would recommend in your interview process, talking with our team here, letting them know that, so that they can kind of, it's typically better to have that conversation live, because then they can look and say, okay, great, here's the current opportunities and here's what you need to do. It's a little bit more, be able to customize that. I do have a couple more questions here. The last one, or one of them, is how long does it usually wait to hear back after you've applied? You should hear back within 24 hours after your initial application. If you haven't, check your spam, check your promotions folder, check, sometimes our emails get caught there. So that would be the best place to look for first. And if you still don't see anything, then reach out to us and we can provide that as well. All right, I have a last, I think that's all the time we have. I have a question that I don't quite understand. I wish I could dive into it, but happy if you want to connect with me after this. I'm happy to try to answer that. Whoever sent it in about their website picture. So, hey, everyone, thank you again. Really appreciate it. We're a minute over, so my apologies, but have an amazing Wednesday. And yeah, we hope to be able to to work with you and on this career journey sometime in the near future.